Greetings, judges. I'm Pranav,
I'm Ignatius.
And I'm Ethan.
and together we are Team Aeronauticals from Anderson Secondary School. Before we move on with explaining how certain aspects of our glider works, here are the steps we took to build it and the measurements we have.
Now we present to you our engineer's notebook. 10th February was our first launch. We chose a controlled environment without wind as we wanted to observe the performance of our plane without any external factors involved. The result? Well, our plane kept on pitching upwards and yawing randomly. We had our second launch 5 days later on the 15th of February. By then, we had already attached the horizontal and vertical stabilizers. This helped to provide support and also stabilize the rear of the plane. This would help with reducing the amount of yaw as well as help to control the pitch. Our plane performed better with a smoother flight, but it was still pitching up ever so slightly. We added 50-cent coins under the wings in order to shift the center of gravity forwards. This took us 2 days and we had our third test on the 17th of February. The glider was airborne for a longer duration, but we still felt that our glider should have been able to fly further. Therefore, we set out to modify the plane in order to improve the distance it could travel.
Moving on, we have our fourth launch. It was our first time launching our second prototype. We had increased the area of its wings and still continued using the added tail and the 50-cent coins for a center of gravity towards the front of the glider. Unfortunately, the results of this launch were similar to the previous launch. Our outcome was rather inconclusive as our glider landed on its tail, which broke off. It was not until our fifth launch where we had built our launcher. This was the mark of a new beginning. We managed to go from having undefined angles of launch to one that was a constant 5 degrees. When we finally had the tail of our second prototype fixed, we managed to deduce the effect the second prototype had on our glider's flight. We then came to the conclusion that our glider kept pitching upwards, causing our plane to stall. In aviation, an aerodynamic stall is used to describe an instance where there is too little airflow over the wings of the glider and hence resulting in the velocity of the glider being too low in relation to flowing air to generate sufficient lift. Now, we have Ignatius to explain to you how we overcame this hurdle.
As Pranav has said before, our plane was pitching up too steeply during the flight, causing it to enter a stall. We initially believed that this was because the rear of our airplane was too heavy, but it did not take us long to realize that we should also increase the lift at the rear of the plane. Therefore, we cut off 5 cm from the rear of the fuselage to shift the center of gravity further to the front. We also added an elevator to the rear of the plane, which was tilted down at 30 degrees in order to generate lift at the rear of the plane. On the 6th launch, which took place on 14th March, the modifications helped to stop our plane from pitching up. However, we overcompensated the downward tilt of the elevator, causing the plane to enter a nosedive. However, now we found a way to manipulate the pitch of our plane, and we will correct this mistake before the next launch. Our final launch took place on the same day, which was 14th March. As said previously, our plane kept pitching down sharply, so we reduced the angle of depression of our elevator from minus 30 degrees to minus 3 degrees. During the actual launch itself, we saw a great improvement in the distance that the plane could fly, as it no longer entered a nosedive, but was able to get airborne and was able to fly up to a greater height. The distance that our plane could fly vastly improved, from an average of 7.5 meters to over 15 meters. We were quite content with these results and decided to keep this prototype as our final model. Now, let's watch our official launch.
Five, four, three, two, one. We have ignition.